on there. I know exactly what's going on.
It wasn't nothing wrong. I just came in because I just thought of it.
No, yeah, the roadcaster wasn't on. So it shouldn't have been talking. It shouldn't have been.
No, it wasn't. I just thought about that USB button because I had turned all the switches.
But I'm glad you walked in because it wasn't. We didn't have it on there. If you didn't walk in, we would have just been talking with no roadcaster hooked up to the thing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Big
so we're
save,
good now.
Big save.
Yeah.
You muted the computer?
Yeah. Yeah, it should be muted. Yeah, it's muted. Appreciate you.
All right.
Well, luckily for us, it's still before 8:30. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no. I finished the story. Nobody will ever hear it. It's lost.
Yeah. Rewind it, man.
It's lost to history like Wilt's 100-point game. No, I was just saying, so back in the day, I for spring break, I went to South Padre Island, Texas. And we're in the area where there's a bunch of hotels, bars, everything else. We're walking around, and we're approaching a hotel. And as we're walking up, a little drunk, and I see this girl kind of walk over next to the building, kind of take her bikini bottoms off and squat down. And there's like a bush there, but it's not very full. So it's like she's not being hidden at all. So I'm taking this in and I'm processing. I'm like, she's about to go to the bathroom. And this guy from the other direction just yells, "She's taking a shit!" And this girl just burst into tears like you just shot her favorite animal in front of her and is crying hysterically. Everybody's like laughing and pointing and going nuts. I mean, just imagine being in that situation with maybe half a dookie out of your ass and like crying hysterically. Like, it doesn't get much worse than that.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be
imagine.
really a tough situation to overcome. And then what do? Do you kind of just carry on with your spring break? You take a day or two off? Hope things blow over? Bounce back on Thursday? I don't know.
I've never been caught using the bathroom in public, man.
Really?
No, but you do it. As a guy, it's different though. It's like it's whatever.
But if you're dropping a deuce, you're dropping a deuce.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any stigma for somebody urinating. Even the women, it's not terrible. But, like, if you're dropping an outdoor deuce and somebody pulls up on you, it's just not a good day.
Oh, man.
From the Sunshine State, the great state of Florida, and what does your Uncle Charlotte always say? The craziest people in America come from the Bronx and all of Florida.
Bitch, I'm Big Bubba crossing my black car. It's booby traps and pit bulls crossing my backyard. I'm still strapped, boy, these handguns on Vanguard. I like going against the grain cause my head hard. Bae, I used to thug hard to see this crack hard. I don't duck nothing but the motherfucking task force. Me and two Root running shit, we like the fat boys. Paid cash for it, so I drive this bitch and fast forward. I put it all in your face like you asked for. Most of you niggas love frontin' like the dashboard. I get a nigga chalked out like the blackboard. I got the ghetto off glass like the backboard. Most of my niggas ride till it ain't no gas for. Nigga, we been outside like ain't no map for. Been outside like ain't no map for.
I swear to God, these motherfucking jets in Florida is different. Man, I was at this bitch house the other night. Gave her little goddamn son one melatonin, thinking this little motherfucker gonna go to sleep. Hell no, the little motherfucker ain't go to sleep. I ended up giving this little bitch the whole goddamn bottle. He ate them all. It was up all motherfucking night.
I'm in all white ones, picture could get me a Cy Young. We feel like nuns, no fucks given like Spice One. We feel like bums, shit don't change, then I might run. Feel like bun, shit sit when the price jump. I got white bumps, these bags kill it price plump. You only die once, I know you a snake with a sliced tongue. I can't trust you, I'ma dust you. Ain't no checking temperature, it's fuck you, then it's fuck you. These laws I'm stuck to, you know how many 12-12s I run through? My coat get cut, but my girlfriends get cut loose. My cocaine get hit like kung fu. I love the streets, but they never told me I love you.
You already know, I'm straight from Florida, G. You know, bottom of the motherfucking map. Home of motherfucking Uncle Luke. Home of Trick Daddy. Home of Kodak Black. Nothing but gold teeth, wigs, and motherfucking sticks. You already know, bottom of the map. FLA, shaped like a motherfucking pistol or a dick, however you want it.
Welcome back. You guys are back on the Bench Podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. All right. Now, today, as always, we got some pretty good topics and conversation for you guys. I can never find it, man.
Yeah, this has become a regular thing.
It really has. But today, I really don't think it's on there.
They're not labeled?
It is labeled.
Oh.
For some reason, it's just not giving it to me today. But I do have a backup thing because I did do it. Where are you at? Here you go.
Bang, there it is.
We're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson. All right. Can he bounce back? What's the narrative around him? Is it fair? Is it a fair narrative around him? We're going to be talking about Mahomes, the Chiefs and Mahomes and the referees and all of that mixed in together.
His special relationship with the referees.
And then, of course, you got Trump and the celebrities who came out and celebrated him and him in office. And some may call it coonery. And
celebrated? That's the word we're going with?
I mean, hey. All right, and a lot more, man. NBA and other hip-hop stuff and other stuff we'll get into as well. I was thinking earlier, man, on a more serious note before we get to
the tomfoolery.
The tomfoolery, man. I was thinking, when you start something, no matter if it's a business or a new venture or whatever you're doing, you really have to make a decision on what that is for you. Like, is it a hobby or is it something you're going to be taking seriously? And if it's a hobby, it's a hobby. It's your life or whatever. You do what you want to do, whatever. But, you hear all of these stories. You reading all of these books online, hear people talk about how they became successful at doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, it was long nights and no sleep, and I had to, sacrifice so many things and do this and do that. And it's really, you don't really, I don't know. For me, I don't really digest that until I encounter that and face it. And then I have to make a decision. But before that, it's not.
What do you mean by digest?
It's just like somebody saying whatever. They went to the bathroom early today. It's just like whatever.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
You hear the story. It's just kind of idle content.
Yeah.
It's not relatable to you.
Exactly.
Until you're facing that moment.
Exactly. Until you're facing that moment. But, there is a decision that has to be made. And then you have to, if it's not a hobby and it's something that you really want to get done and you really want to take serious or you really want to make money from it or you really whatever your end goal is, there is sacrifices that you have to make and you have to do it, man. I don't know. That's what I was thinking about earlier.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think that the funny thing is like the people that realize that first are usually the ones that make it. Because they go all in on whatever it is that they're trying to do. I mean, I remember, heck, at this point a couple years ago, we were talking about the Netflix thing on Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what came through so clear. Like, he put himself on this course and didn't have a plan B, that he was going to do this. And, he grinded. He was everywhere he needed to be. And he made that happen. And, I remember talking about it at the time.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of people around you that'll always want to hedge the bet and say, hey, you need plan B, or what's your backup plan if this doesn't work out, or, hey, how many people really make money doing that? And the answer to doing it is to not have the backup plan, is to go all in. And that's what you're doing. And you attain a level of expertise and proficiency that distinguishes you from the other people that are half into what you're doing or trying to accomplish, who are trying to mix it, and do a bunch of other things. And so now I'm a big believer in that. I mean, you look at like a lot of, you look at, like Tiger Woods. Like,
yeah.
There's a ton of things. I mean, I was listening to a Khabib thing on
Khabib.
Khabib the fighter.
Okay. Yeah.
Khabib. And it was on TikTok the other day, but he was like, you know, he said the biggest thing that a champion does is sacrifice. He goes, that's what it is. He goes, lots of guys can fight, lots of guys have talent, but the champions are the ones that sacrifice.
Right.
And he was telling a story. There was a Mexican fighter that wanted to train at his gym, and he welcomed him to do it, and he set out the rules. And like 2 or 3 days later, the guy's like, hey, I got to go spend some time with my family in Mexico. 2 weeks, I'll be back. And Khabib said, if you go, don't come back. That's not what we do. Like, we work, we fight, we train. That's it. There's no other excuse. And, his gym and his team have, basically behind him, they've created a couple different champions and a couple guys that are rising stars in MMA. And it's very connected to just the work they put in and the commitment that they have to do that and sacrificing, a lot of other things that some people find important.
Facts. Facts. All right, let's get into some stuff here now. Let's. I just thought this was really interesting, man. I thought this was really interesting because I remember when Snoop Dogg put out that video, man, the first time around. It's a little older video.
Yeah. And
he was on social media, and he was talking about all of the artists and entertainers that were going to Trump's, it's the inauguration, right?
Yeah, inauguration.
Yeah. And about all of them going in to perform there, and he's like, oh, man, you guys are just sellouts, and there's no way you should be doing that. What are you doing? And all of that good stuff. And he was going, like, in on them, you know what I mean? And he really didn't catch any flack because, especially the first time around when Trump first got in office, that was like the overall sentiment. And then, and the artists that did go, and I forgot the names. I wish I would know some of the artists that did the first time around.
Chrisette Michelle or something like that. It was like a female singer. It wasn't big names.
Yeah.
And it was the joke of it. I mean, it wasn't any big black names.
Yeah.
Like, and the joke of it was that, like, you had to drop down to that tier of performer to get somebody to show up and do your thing. Yeah. And so that nobody was going to take a shot at Snoop for saying that because that was a prevailing sentiment.
Right.
It's like, why would anybody fuck with this guy?
And then this time around, Snoop is there, along with Rick Ross and Nelly and Soulja Boy, and
all on their knees, mouths wide open.
Now we've had a couple of people come out. You got Stephen A. Smith. He's saying, you guys, you can't blame these guys. There's nothing wrong with those guys going up there and doing their thing because Nelly is not a political person. And when's the last time Soulja Boy made any real money off hip hop? And these guys are entertainers and stuff. That was his take on it. And then I sent you a clip about Charlamagne the God talking about it and a couple of other things as well. But just saying how you guys got to keep the same energy for everyone. If you feel some way about Snoop, you have to feel the same way about Obama and the way he was interacting with Trump at the funeral, or feel the same way about some of these other guys who have seemingly changed their stance on Trump that most people like. You know what I mean? So what is your take on all of that?
Well, I mean, I was very disappointed in Obama for sitting next to that guy and at the funeral of Jimmy Carter. I think that's despicable. I don't see why you would do that. If you have to be in the same room, you have to be in the same room, and I wouldn't exchange any pleasantries with him.
Yeah,
he would know that I hate him. That it's just that simple. If I have to be in the same place. Yeah. And so and that's where I make the distinction. Charlamagne was talking about like Biden and Obama, politicians. Yeah. Like the reality is, they are operating in the political realm. They're going to have to attend these things. Like, funeral of a past president, every living president attends. Yeah. But how do you interact with them then? If you're sitting there laughing or sitting next to them like Obama was, like, what the fuck, man? That's not acceptable. If you're sitting across the room and maybe just an icy glare or don't shake his hand, I'm for that.
Even a basic
that.
handshake for the camera. But like,
but
it just looked bad,
but
man.
That's what I mean. I was not happy with how Obama conducted himself in that. I was happy Michelle just said, I'm not going to that. I wouldn't at all. I would ostracize this person. I would have ostracized him back in 2015, 2016 when all this nonsense started, because you could see where it was going. You could see what it was based on, and I would not have accepted that. And I hate the term that is so common, but normalize. But I think one of the biggest problems that this country did, and the media, like both the conservative Fox people and the other CNN type people, it was such good business ratings-wise to talk about this imbecile that they all did. And in talking about him daily, they legitimized his existence.
You talking about the big news?
The big news
outlets?
Yeah. They legitimized him. And that's one of the issues that I've had with this whole thing of allowing this guy to do this stuff, is that you legitimize him by not stopping it. And you by talking about it, by joking about it, oh, look what stupid thing he did today. Like, in a way, in your mind, you're telling yourself, oh, I'm making fun of him. I'm being negative about him. But you're still legitimizing him by addressing it. And also that drives me insane.
And that's what these artists are doing.
Well, that's the other level of this that I wanted to get to. I don't care how desperate for money you are. I don't care, if you claim to respect the office of the president or whatever. I don't care if you didn't vote or don't vote. When you accept an invitation from him to perform at his inauguration, you are endorsing him.
Yeah. You
are saying, I'm okay with this guy. And you can't walk that back. Once you accept that invitation, show up and perform.
You can't just say, hey, I only did it for the money.
Right. You can't. It doesn't work. There's a significance to what he represents, and that's why I think he should be shunned, is when you show up and perform, you essentially endorse and make it okay. That I accept this. I'm okay. I'm going to show up and do my show. You can't separate that. This is a political figure, and a divisive political figure at that. Whether you like him or not, he's divisive. And so when you step up and say, yeah, I'm going to come do that show, and you do the show, you've endorsed him. You've legitimized him. And I'm not forgiving you for that at all. And I'm all for you taking heat. And I don't care if your career's in the shitter or you need it. I don't. It just again, that's Stephen A's excuse, because the one idiot hasn't made money from Soulja Boy hasn't made money from music in a while. So you can do whatever.
It's
I mean, I'd rather see his bitch ass on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you need it that bad.
Yeah.
But that's and that's my thing about it, especially listening to Stephen A. Like, yeah, Rick Ross and Soulja Boy, yeah, they're clowns. I know that. They're clowns. They're not really respected in the black community. They're what's the term? What's the people that way back in the day used to call them jackals or something like?
Jackals.
Not jackals, but
jackasses.
No, they're the guys that put on show for people and we laugh.
Jesters.
Yeah, court jesters. That's what they are, man. We never took Soulja Boy or Rick Ross seriously. Snoop Dogg is different though. It's not only just mostly for the video he made, but also he's just a different figure. Like to expect this from him, I didn't expect this from him.
Snoop,
you know what I mean?
Snoop is a beloved cultural figure.
He's a cultural icon.
And again,
he's different from those other guys.
I recognize that he has significance to the black community, but he has a significance that's transcended the black community.
There you go.
And has his thing at the Olympics was well received, was enjoyable. He carries a broad social cachet that should be deployed smartly.
Yeah.
And we know he's not hurting for money.
Yeah.
And he went along with this. And the fact that 8 years earlier he specifically went against it makes him look like a pathetic hypocrite.
Yeah.
And no respect. I unfollowed him from all platforms. I don't care if he dies. I don't.
My main thing is consistency, man. I just like people to be fucking consistent and stand on something. Like that's it. Just stand on something, man. Like if you're Joe Biden, like in any like. It makes me believe that you didn't believe anything you said. The type of things you said about this man, about Trump, and about the type of person he was and how dangerous he is. You can't go and have a fucking tea party with him days before the inauguration and leave a fucking heartfelt letter for him when he gets into the office. Like all of this stuff. Like that means you didn't mean any of that shit that you said. Why am I to believe that?
I would take a different tack with that specific thing. There is a tradition in the transfer of power that you do leave a note for your successor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest issues with Trump is he will not concede the office. That's why January 6th happened 4 years ago. That's why he will not leave office unless it's in a coffin or by force this time.
Do you think he left a letter?
He did not. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He departed from. And so I do understand that you can say, hey, this guy's not worthy of anything. I'm not going to respect him, which is probably what I would personally do. But I would say this, is you look at a guy, and I don't have a whole lot of like or appreciation for Joe Biden, but I would say this, is he's a guy that's literally spent his entire adult life in politics.
Yeah.
He has, at the minimum, a respect for the traditions and meanings of politics. And he's probably going to be dead within a few years. And so for him to just personally say, I'm going to go out in the way that I think this should all happen, and I'm going to leave my note, and I'm going to go out with grace or whatever, I can accept that that's his personal decision in the context of his career. And we talk about standing on something. You could interpret that as he's going to stand on political professionalism, which he's probably prided himself on for the majority of his adult life.
Well, Joe, which
which
president pardoned all his entire family out of prison? I mean, like, is that the tradition? Is that who's done that? Man, they released his whole family out of prison.
Who else had to?
Huh?
Who else had to?
People have family members in prison. Is he the only president to have family members in prison? Maybe so.
I mean,
maybe so.
I think Jimmy
know.
Carter's brother ran afoul of the law as well. I don't recall back, but I don't read it as a tremendously common occurrence. Maybe I've misread that, but
who knows? But yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see Snoop Dogg's response, and also
I don't care what his response is because seriously, what are you gonna say that's gonna make sense? I want to hear it.
Yeah,
but I don't. Like, if you know, like, you had to have been in situations where someone's gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Do I need to hear this? That's how I feel. Like, somebody has no good excuse for something they've done, and I'm gonna want to know what they have. Like, what lie are you going to give me? What piece of bullshit are you going to give me? I'm not here for that. You defined yourself and your character with your decision. I know all I need to know. I'm good with you being done. Like, you're not going to tell me anything that's going to be, oh man, yeah, Snoop, I think you're right. I didn't see it that way.
I didn't see it that way.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's no possibility of that. And I think we need to just get away from, like, just accepting bullshit.
Yeah.
And, like, actually just see shit for what it is. He's a spineless cunt.
All righty here.
What did Nelly's excuse do for you?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, he said, well,
what did he say?
I don't, I'm not a political guy. I have
okay,
respect
so that's
for
what
the
Stephen A.
office
was
of the
saying.
president.
Okay.
Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's not being occupied by a decent human being, so why the fuck should you respect that?
Nelly needed the money. I mean, that's not a fucking, like, he should have just came out and said that, because that's 1,000% what that is. Come on.
There's other ways to make money, man. There's other ways.
I would think Nelly can, I think he'll do all right on OnlyFans.
A couple years back, he partnered up with a few country acts and kind of released some. I mean, he could still get some money if he needs it.
Yeah, make another.
He's got,
what was that football movie? Make it part 3.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But he's with Ashante.
Yeah,
He's got
they're doing all right,
They're
man.
doing all right. He didn't need the money like that.
That out of all of those guys up there, I would think so.
Yeah, not a good enough excuse.
Yeah. Once again, you guys are on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Let's get to a little football here. All right. We are in the middle of the NFL playoffs. After our last week's show, you had the Baltimore Ravens face off against the Buffalo Bills, and the Ravens lost, man, on a interesting game. A really good game to watch, but the Ravens made some key mistakes. Buffalo Bills did not, and they came away with the win. Now, I wanted to talk about the narrative around Lamar Jackson. And I think the narrative around Lamar Jackson is just off-based, and I think it's 100% because of the climate that we're in. You either have the guy who is, I don't call him racist. I don't call him racist. I just say that, what is the term I came up with earlier? He's the guy who says Lamar and quarterbacks like him can never win in the NFL.
The coded racist.
Yeah, it's like
you're still a racist, but you're sophisticated enough to use coded language to avoid saying the N-word.
Yeah, there you go. And then on the other side, though, which I think is just as bad, and hear me out on this, is you have the Lamar apologist, and that Lamar can do no wrong, and because they just, for some kind of way, Lamar has become like the black quarterback, like the guy, like damn what, Mahomes, maybe they don't even count Mahomes or these other guys or whatever, but somehow, some kind of way, Lamar has become the picture and the plight of black quarterbacks in the NFL.
I think it's quite obvious.
And he can do no wrong in those people's eyes. And I think they are doing a disservice not only to Lamar but to black quarterbacks. Like it's not 1940 anymore. Like more of the better quarterbacks in the NFL are black. Most of the better quarterbacks in the NFL are black. It just is what it is now. We don't have to, go so hard for particular certain guys because, it's a thing that we're going through still. It's over. Like it's over.
But what Lamar represents is somewhat iconic in that thing. Again, he had a Heisman Trophy winning guy in college, and he goes to the combine, and he deliberately makes the decision, I'm not going to run.
Yeah.
I'm here to be a quarterback. And there was legitimate talk of positional change at the time he's in the draft process.
Yeah, it is. It was.
And so you have that. Mm-hmm. And then you have, who Lamar is. I mean, he's a South Florida guy. He's not a big commercial guy. He doesn't do a lot to kind of craft this kind of white imagery or acceptable to the white people imagery. His mother's his agent. But I find him to be like an incredibly sincere person. And I think he's authentic to himself. I think he's authentic and gracious with the other people in the league. I mean, from everything I've been able to observe, I think he's a hell of a human being.
Yeah.
But I do think that several things with that. He is in some ways been cast as the last black quarterback.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
By the conventions and stereotypes of the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And I understand like a pure running quarterback is in the pocket and things like that, and Randall Cunningham and you got Vic and all of these guys. I understand that. But my thing is I'm looking from a bigger lens, like a wider lens of there are 32 teams. There are more black quarterbacks, you know what I mean? There are better black quarterbacks than there are white quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah.
And then you look at the draft, you got Cam and Shedeur coming in who are going to be the top 2 quarterbacks or something. It is in no foreseeable future is that changing. We don't have to we don't have to change the way that we, grade and look at quarterbacks because Lamar is coming up short. That's not the thing. Lamar had a great second half, but it's 2 halves to a football game. The first half matters. The 2 turnovers in the first half impacted the game. They did lose because of that. Yes, Mark Andrews, he made some drops, he fumbled as well. Okay, he's a part of that reason as well, but so is Lamar. Yeah. And that's how it goes. And another thing I thought about, we're far removed from Tom Brady, dominance with the New England Patriots in the league. But I'm old enough to remember, Tom Brady did not, he was not like statistically dominant in every single playoff and Super Bowl run. There are tons of games where he managed the game and got out of there and they win and they kick a field goal to win the game. I mean, shit, more than half of his Super Bowls. He mastered managing a football game and doing exactly what is needed. That's what Josh Allen did. That's why Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson. He can do that game. I thought you can look at that game and most people will say Lamar Jackson played better. He was the better quarterback. I don't think so. I think Josh Allen did exactly what he needed to do, and which is the opposite of what Josh Allen normally does. Like before this season, Josh Allen is the throw it all over the yard, throw 2 to 3 interceptions, 300, 400 yards. He running the ball, trying to run over every guy he sees, linebacker or defensive lineman. This year is so different, and that game was a direct in the mirror of what he has done in the regular season, which was I'm just going to do what I need to do to win this game. You know what I mean? Josh turns the ball over one time, they lose that game. That's how important possessions are in the NFL playoffs.
Well, what you're saying it was a game defined by the turnovers, and Baltimore had a bunch of them, and they changed the game. Those turnovers allowed Buffalo to play essentially conservatively offensive football, not take a lot of chances on a snowy, shitty field.
Yeah.
I mean, which again, that was the game plan.
That
you
impacts
get the upper hand early, you kind of control and dictate the terms of the game, and they did that masterfully, and Josh didn't make any mistakes. Lamar made 2 big ones. You can't erase them. They changed the game. Absolutely. And then in the second half, when he picked up his level of play, Mark Andrews offset that with the mistakes that he made. And you just, again, we can take the quarterback narratives out of this and just say, hey, one team turned it over about 4 times and the other team didn't. That's the difference in the game.
That is.
You look at the turnover battle and it generally correlates to the overall battle.
Now, let me ask you this. I remember last week and even over the phone, you said last year was the year. Then I said, well, this year's the year too, like before this Buffalo and Baltimore game, right, for Lamar.
Yeah.
So what is your feeling now? I mean, I know you thought last year was the best chance. I thought that last year and this year, right? Because you bring in Derrick Henry and the defense completely turns it around.
Last year, for a very specific reason, they had the best record in the AFC. Mm-hmm. They had all these games at home.
Yeah.
And again, turning the ball was turning the ball over. But if they could have replayed that game in Baltimore instead of Buffalo, there's not a person in that locker room that wouldn't have said, hell yeah, I'd prefer to do that.
Facts.
And that's why I felt last year was the opportunity. They did everything regular season-wise to have the easiest path to the Super Bowl, and they didn't get it done. Mm-hmm. And, in terms of what's going forward, it's interesting. The Ravens have been a relatively stable organization. Mm-hmm. They've had the same head coach for a long time. That same coach presided over the transition from Flacco to Jackson. Mm-hmm. And, obviously there's always some turnover every year, but the organization's been marked by its general stability. And I think they'd be well served to continue to do that. I don't think they need to react to this loss like everything needs to be blown up.
Oh, hell no.
And make some crazy decisions. I think you just stay the course. And again, there's other precedent. I mean, you look at, Michael Jordan win a title for 6-7 years and then started winning them. There's other precedent. Peyton Manning won a good stretch without winning a Super Bowl and then finally got one. And, part of that is you just keep plugging away. I mean, another one, Dale Earnhardt Sr., like he went to Daytona 20 times and lost in some of the most tragic, unfortunate circumstances you possibly can. And then on try 21, he won the damn thing.
Yeah.
So you don't overreact when things, don't go your way. And again, look at the nature of the game. Like, you don't turn it over as much as you did, you probably win it. You catch a single pass at the end of the game, you get yourself to overtime. And there's just so many little margins that you can look at. So don't overreact. Make smart moves, upgrade the roster where you can, and load it up and come again.
Yeah. I 1,000% agree with that's what the Ravens should do. But I am a little Debbie Downer on, Lamar and if he ever will win a Super Bowl in the NFL because, the one thing about, Peyton Manning and John Elway and these guys that won at the end, and, the difference is the level of quarterback play in today's league is just vast superior to that. The amount of quarterbacks and teams that he has to go through now, like, even in his own division, you have Joe Burrow, who feel how you want to feel, but he's been to a Super Bowl, and nobody else in that division has from a starting quarterback point of view. All right. And then, of course, we know about Mahomes, and he's whatever, top 2 quarterback that ever played a game. And then you have Josh who's beating you, and then you have this new emerging guy and with the Commanders and Jaden Daniels, and it's just like it's just way more roadblocks than those guys had to go through. Now, again, from a Baltimore standpoint, 1,000% running back, Lamar's, of course, 1,000% running back. Hopefully you can, find a deal for Derrick Henry and you can bring him back and things like that. But I'm a Debbie Downer on whether he can eventually get it done because I just don't see a window, man.
Well, the big thing with Lamar, not being a pure passer, you wonder how his game is going to age. And so if you don't think it's going to age where he's going to get 18 or 20 plus years of football like, Peyton and Tom Brady had, then you have to look at this and say, well, this is a shorter window. And can things happen, within that window to get a Super Bowl done? And it does definitely look difficult for sure. But by the same token, we're a year away from being home field through the whole playoffs and falling just short. And, you have to live in the moment, live for today.
Oh, 100%.
You can't, just load it up and go back at them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, anything else that you're thinking of is not productive to bringing that actual goal to reality. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, seriously. All right, now on from one quarterback to the next in the same conference here. You have Mahomes, and the biggest thing surrounding the Chiefs right now is not even Chiefs versus Bills. It's Chiefs and referees versus the field. And even so much so that Mahomes actually addressed that today. And this was his comment. He says, I don't feel that way.
Essentially that the referees are biased in favor of the Chiefs. Yeah,
the referees are doing their best to call the game as fair, as proper as they can. And then also he went on to say, there were a lot of other plays in the game that were made in order for us to win and the other team to lose, essentially. You know what I mean? What do you feel about that?
Interesting that he felt compelled to address it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the right week to have addressed it, and this is why.
It's not like an open address. He was asked, and that was his answer.
Yeah, respond to it.
Yeah.
One of the calls that people were most fired up about was when he essentially did a basketball-style flop on a sideline play. And so it's like, he knows what he did. I mean, it is. I mean, we accept it in basketball. We accept it in soccer. It's kind of counterculture to the mentality that we associate with football. So it
and
comes
it's
off a little
new
weird.
in football.
Well,
I've
right,
never
there's not a lot of
seen
guys
that.
doing it.
I
That's
never
the
seen.
thing, yeah.
That's the craziest thing that I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And it's like he's introducing it, and I'm a part of the crowd that doesn't really like it in basketball, even though I'm a fan of the 76ers.
Sure.
We have a main culprit in Embiid, but with him it's like, damn, it's new. But is that going to spring? I'll let you finish, but is that going to spring, other guys doing it and things like that? I don't know.
It's possible that other guys are going to do it.
Yeah.
In the context that he did it, it was, I feel like I know why he did it, and it's rooted in just being like a ruthlessly competitive person. And he knows that, I'm on the sideline here. If I embellish this contact a little bit, maybe we get an extra 15 and a first down. It's just a cold, calculated move to win the game. And I think that he's, the reason why he's successful is because he's so freaking driven to win. And this is kind of just an extension of it. I'm not happy about it. I'm not impressed by it, but I see where it's coming from. And, it'll probably have a bit of a spillover effect. You might see some guys in other games, do something similar.
Yeah. My first takeaway was that play. 'Cause I actually seen him do that before, Mahomes, and pull up on the sidelines. So, and what's going to happen is, just like all the Brady rules and things like that, and whatever, for better or for worse, they're going to look at it in the offseason and they're going to either make an adjustment or not. But for right now, they have this the reprimandum, or whatever say that word, on all quarterbacks. Like it's you know what I mean? They're so protective of quarterbacks in the NFL, and probably justifiably so, because they control so much of the game, so much of the offense. I mean, we just saw last week when the referee went in on the sidelines where the team is. That's the first time I've ever seen that. They'll go have a conversation with Josh Allen about a call that was not made. And he explained himself. He went I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And you had other players saying, yeah, I've never seen that before a day in my life. And so there's such it's just such a key point to protect quarterbacks, so they're going overboard about it.
But I mean, in a lot of ways, rightly so.
I think so. Yeah.
Who liked watching the Dolphins in the middle of this year?
Jesus, I had Tyreek Hill on my fantasy teams, man.
Who liked watching the Jags with Mac Jones?
Yes.
I
didn't like Mac Jones in college.
There's a reality that there are less than 32 people on the planet that can play competent quarterback at the professional level.
Did you see the Chiefs back up in week 18?
Carson Wentz. And he was a guy that was in an MVP race at one point in the league.
He has a Super Bowl ring.
And he's got a Super Bowl ring as a backup. But yeah, it's crazy to think, but there's a big reality that there are not 32 guys that can play the position at a competent level on the planet. And for this product to work, you got to have these guys playing.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine. It is absolutely exciting to see the renewed Chiefs-Bills in a playoff game, that rivalry.
Yeah.
But if either team was missing their guy, the feeling about that game, and I would suggest the viewership of that game, drops off dramatically.
Yeah.
If we knew for certain that Pat's not playing or Josh weren't playing because of injury, that's not the same game. It's not the same product.
At all, man. At all. And the calls you had last year, you had some calls that were made. That just is what it is. That's a part of the game, man. Yeah. Got the tuck rule from Brady. Who agrees with that if you're not a Patriots fan? Like that. I mean, it just happens. Yeah. That's a part of football. It's a part of sports. Next week rolls on. You have to win the game. I mean, nobody's going to care. I'm not going to say they're not going to remember, but nobody's going to care about the missed calls or calls that were made in the week prior.
Yeah.
It's just not thought about, man, in the history of champions. You know what I mean? We don't care about whatever the extra fouls that Jordan received. He has 6 championships. It just is what it fucking is.
At some point, the achievement overwhelms the story.
Yeah,
and becomes the story itself. But yeah, I mean, for people that saw it, people that lived it, you know, you are gonna. And I'm not saying these were bad. I mean, you're going to remember the late hit from the Bengals linebacker. You're going to remember the PI in the Super Bowl with the Eagles. And for that matter, on the other side of that, we talked last week, you remember the 2002 phantom pass interference against the Hurricanes. There's certain things that you're going to remember if you were there and lived them. But for the people that, you know, weren't, you know, there, didn't watch it in that era, they're just going to see the Super Bowls and be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, but Bills Chiefs while we're here. All right. The Bills beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. And honestly, you know, they kind of did it convincingly. The game was, that was a rough game for me to watch as a lifelong Chiefs fan. But, you know, they kind of kicked their ass, man, on both sides of the field from first quarter to fourth. And so now, you know, a DB from the Chiefs said, you know, we know exactly what we did wrong. We are glad we got these guys back. You know, as a Chiefs fan, I wanted the Ravens. I didn't want the Bills. I just think the Ravens are the most talented team in the NFL, but I know that they're going to make mistakes in a big game. It just is what it is. They do it every time. They did it last year, the year before. The Bills and Josh Allen and the Bills, man, you really have to go out and beat those guys. There's not going to be a ton of room for error. You know what I mean? And that's what scares me about this team.
I agree with your concerns, but I mean the other way to look at it is that, you know, the Bills have never beaten the Chiefs in a playoff game.
Yeah,
they've won the majority of the regular season games. In these with these relative rosters and coaching staffs, but they haven't won the big one in the playoffs. So. Again, the game is the game, and it'll sort it out. But from, you know, a going into it standpoint, you have to accept whatever matchup is in front of you. I think anytime that you get a draw in a tournament or a playoff, or you're overly fixated on I want this opponent and not that opponent, you're basically undermining your own confidence.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to the champions here, man. He's saying that the Kate bet against Pat and all that good stuff. Appreciate your comment, my guy.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I'm not betting against Pat in a meaningful playoff game.
No.
And so I'm expecting the Chiefs to win, but I recognize it could go the other way. It should be a fantastic game. Because if you think maybe the Bills are a little bit better, but the Chiefs are at home, and both teams have to deal with their respective histories in this matchup, and that being the Bills never getting over in a playoff game and the Chiefs having that confidence that they'll find a way at the end, it's poised to be a fantastic game.
No other quarterback in the history of the NFL is 4-0 against a rival quarterback in the playoffs. There are some that are 3-0, 2-0, of course. And right now, like as you said, Mahomes is 3-0 versus the Bills and Josh Allen. 4-0, you're into uncharted territory.
All these gambling stats.
No. It's not a gambling stat. It's a I own you stat. That's what it is. If Mahomes wins this Sunday, or whatever, I think it is Sunday. Then basically he owns Allen, man. 4-0. No other quarterback in the history of the league is 4-0 or more against a rival quarterback in the playoffs. I think that's significant. I think that does something to to Allen and his. And to his what was the word I'm looking for? His legacy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, again, we talked a couple weeks ago. I mean, like with Lamar and him having tremendous pressure on them because they're in a legacy-defining period of time.
Yeah.
You know, last week they played against each other, and Josh emerges from that, and now he gets a shot at the King. And again, if he beats the King this Sunday, that means a whole lot.
It means a whole lot,
him,
man.
You know, but. Absolutely. I mean, and that's what this is all about. Like, you know, two great quarterbacks, two great teams playing a high leverage game to go to the Super Bowl. This is what we want. Can't ask for anything more.
No, for sure. And yeah, so we'll check that out and see, man. I can't wait, man. That's the best game for me.
Is that the early or late game?
That is the later game.
Oh, good.
The first game will be the Commanders and Eagles.
Divisional battle.
Yeah.
I mean, again, credit to what Washington's done. They were fantastic against Detroit. But Detroit, similar, and wasn't talked about the same, but the amount of turnovers that they had just really shot their efforts dead. The Ravens and the Lions both lost because of their own turnovers.
Yeah.
If they didn't have the level of turnovers, and we're talking like 4, I think the Lions might have had 5 total turnovers.
Detroit is in trouble, man. The Lions are in trouble because they're losing their coordinators. They're
gone.
Yeah.
Ben's going to the Bears and Glenn's going to the
The
Jets.
Jets. They're gone. And then you have this team that have really just disappointed in two playoffs. Last year, the Detroit was in the Baltimore Ravens seat. This year they were in the Ravens seat, I guess.
This year they were in the Ravens seat.
Yeah. But last year they had a big lead in a playoff game. They squandered it, lost. You come back.
Yeah, they were on the road against the 49ers,
Yeah.
had the upper hand, and let that get away. So two, really, really significant playoff failures.
And disappointing. And now where do you go from that? Do you can Jared Goff really do this for you? I don't know. And then you have a defense that was beat up and battled, but it's now you have to pay some of those guys. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, they were missing so many. There were so many injuries to where it's like, I don't know.
Well, defensively, the story is the injuries. So many talented guys were injured or just coming back as this ended. So I think from a defensive personnel standpoint, let's just get healthy and contractually secure our core pieces. Offensively, I mean, it's a super talented offensive team. I mean, I really like the roster, but we're going to find out a little bit about Dan Campbell, and we're going to find out about him 2 ways. What does he do with these 2 new hires? What does he do with these 2 spots? Because these are significant spots. He's losing top-grade guys on offense and defense on the coaching staff. And they've had, during his rise, they've had a certain amount of continuity. They've kind of done this together. So I think, can he identify and lure top-quality assistants to fill these roles? And they're attractive roles, though, because of the talent they have on the roster.
Yeah.
And then, and can he coach a little bit? Or was he kind of riding off of some talent on his staff? That's going to be the other question.
That's going to be the other question, man. Because, listen, Ben was such highly regarded for these crazy plays that he's calling. You got offensive linemen throwing, catching, pitching. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm curious to see what the offense looks like. We saw when the Eagles made a Super Bowl run, they lost their offensive coordinator, and all of a sudden they became and defensive coordinator, lost both of them to head coaching jobs. All of a sudden, Jalen can't throw now, and the fucking offense looks terrible for a year or two until they, catch up. So even if you make the right,
until they got Saquon,
until they got Saquon. But my point to that was, even if you make the right hire, maybe you don't come right out of the gates. Maybe it takes a year or two to learn the new offense. I can't imagine someone comes in and runs an identical offense to Ben with all this creativity and all of this.
That's what I mean by the hire, is that you're gonna have to get a guy, because the team is talented. It's essentially personnel wise ready to win, and you can't have a developmental situation.
Training wheels, no.
He's got to hire a guy that can get the job done quickly on both sides of the ball. And maybe it is kind of coming in and recognizing hey, let's kind of continue to do a lot of things that were already going well, and I'll just kind of add a few flourishes. And it's, that's the thing, that's going to be the critical thing that's going to prove Dan Campbell, is that can you make that type of hire, whoever that guy is, whether it's an old experienced head or finding the next young new guy, and just kind of keep what you're going, got, and just freshen it up a little bit.
No, for sure. I want to get to Jaden Daniels, but really quick first, again, Once again, you guys are on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all that I do mean, all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Really quick, what is this? It's tough being fresh in the winter, but you can do it.
Did you get
at
your Beard Gang
BroYour13theBread.com. The who?
Beard Gang shirt yet?
No, I need it, right?
Dude,
You know?
yeah, I don't know if that's an elite beard or not.
It is. I haven't picked it out and stuff. That's the problem. All right. Listen, Jaden Daniels. I want to tell you where I'm at with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a phenomenal quarterback, man. I will not, moving forward, make a judgment on quarterbacks until year 2 I make my first initial, and then year 4 or 5 I make my lasting, because those are the 2 pivotal moments for quarterbacks. Like, we're seeing rookies come in and perform really well, and Jaden has come in, played very well in the regular season, but playoffs, you beat a Tampa Bay team that I never believed in. All right, and then you beat a Detroit team with guys off the street on their defense. Not saying that Jaden's not good. I think he is. But you got guys saying he's in the top 5 and top 3 in quarterbacks in the NFL. And you have to see what does year 2 look like. Because we just went through this with C.J. Stroud last year. We just did this. CJ, oh my goodness, he's top 4, he's top 3, he's right behind Mahomes. Why can't he be number 2? And he did all of this, and then you get to year 2, and the reason why year 2 is important is because you get all of the coaches, the defensive coordinators, defensive coaches get a whole off season to look at the film, and they look at you, and then year 2 is when they have formed game plans for your weaknesses. Okay, now if you survive that, like Mahomes did, and like the really good ones do, is more than Mahomes. All right, when you get to year 4, year 5, that's when the new deal comes. When the new deal comes, that means they pay you a lot, and they're not allowed to pay anybody else a lot. What does that look like? Kyler Murray, other guys, Tua, other guys. What does that look like when that team can't pay you? Are you still as efficient when you don't have all of this talent?
At the end of the day, can you carry a less than optimal roster to contention? That's the question that you're asking at that stage.
Yes.
Once you've been paid as a star quarterback, are you still good enough to carry a flawed roster to contention?
Yeah.
And I like that analysis. I like that. You can't get carried away too early. You've got to see some consistency. And then the ultimate thing is, when you've actually been paid, can you still carry a flawed roster as far as you did a loaded one?
Yeah. And you got the champion saying, see, he's the best rookie I've ever seen in my entire life watching football. And you know what? That still can be true. That's not that is not, going overboard or anything. He has accomplished the most so far, especially going far in the playoffs, and he did look good in the regular season.
Well, look no farther than Washington, and like at the end of his rookie year, who didn't think Robert Griffin was going to be a star?
Come on, man. Like literally.
I mean, he felt
RG3
like you were watching something completely transcendent.
Yeah.
And it never touched again.
No.
It just never came close.
No.
So I mean, again, consistency over time is the measure, and then the way the NFL salary cap structure is, it matters. When you earn the big deal, can you still carry the team forward? Because there's no way that you get your deal and the roster's not flawed.
Facts. He's saying who you picking, Eagles or Commanders?
I do not like the Eagles.
Oh, wow.
Mainly because I don't like Nick Sirianni. I think he's a douche.
Well, he's definitely a douche.
Yeah, and so I'm pushing for the Redskins, the Commanders to win this thing.
When you're old school, that's the team name. Yeah, I say it all the time. Yeah, I think the Eagles will win, but I'm definitely rooting for the Commanders. I mean, I love the story, and but I just don't see how the Eagles defense, first of all, to be fair, in the regular season, Jaden Daniels put up 30 plus on the Eagles. So you know what I mean? But Saquon ran crazy. I don't know. I don't think that they can beat the Eagles in a playoff game. That would really surprise me. Not gonna lie. That would surprise me. If the Commanders can beat the Eagles this week, I don't care about. I know Jalen is questionable and he's been hurt every week.
When you say can the Redskins beat them, I look at that really as can Jalen Hurts lay an egg? And I think he can.
He can. He's capable.
And that's why I feel that the Commanders have a chance in this game, because I don't feel really strongly that Jalen Hurts is going to have a good game.
Yeah.
I think there's a significant possibility that he plays poorly or has a problem.
And that's sad because that team is so loaded on offense. I don't even know how they're that loaded on offense, and to have a competent defense. I don't know. Shout out to that GM because they've done some crazy work over there, man. You know what I mean? And so to say that that really says a lot about Jalen, because I 1,000% agree with you.
Yeah.
And Jalen is a guy who we thought would be in the conversation of whatever, top 5, top 10.
He's another guy you look at. I don't know what, maybe it was year 3 that they got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
For Hurts
like
personally.
Year 2 or 3, yeah.
And it looked like at that point, like he had evolved, and bang, here he is. Great game on the Super Bowl stage. Came up a little short to Pat Mahomes. But he didn't build off that last year. He was particularly bad down the stretch. And this year he's been okay. He hasn't been in their way of winning, but he hasn't really played great.
No.
And if the Redskins Commanders, if they can play in a way that makes Hurts have to make the big plays with his arm to win the game, they've got a chance.
When was the last time we really had to talk about the Commanders for an extended period of time?
Never. other than to just kind of generally crap on them for being an inept organization. But now Snyder's gone, new ownership, new front office, new coach, new quarterback. It just all, kind of comes together.
Yeah.
It's like, like removing a dark cloud from the organization.
Are you completely down on a rematch of Eagles-Chiefs?
No, I don't. I mean, as long as the Chiefs are there, I don't care who they play.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not down on it. I mean, I think we have 4 really good football teams, 4 really good narratives, one way or the other.
Yeah.
To me, like Saquon gives the Eagles like kind of like a new good feel good story. I think if they didn't add him, it feels a little tired with the Eagles. Kind of the same crew, running it back, but Saquon's that extra element, and it's great to see him. He seems another guy. It seems like a genuinely good dude, playing absolutely great football, and it's hard to root against him, or want him to fail.
As a Chiefs fan, I want to see the Eagles more than I want to see the Commanders.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
We have a really strong run defense. I haven't seen any running back do anything on us. I mean, Derrick Henry couldn't even get over 70 yards. So
yeah,
I that is their strength. I think that plays to our strength. Run defense is the only thing I can tell you that I really believe in as a unit on our team. And Jaden, now with 2 weeks building up to the Super Bowl, and you have all of this extra stuff going on, do I think Jaden can become subject to the surroundings and maybe not have such a big night? Yeah, possibly so. But our secondary, man, it's just
you got to Uber Eats the hookers over to him.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Find out what he really likes. You got to do a little digging. Don't just just be basic,
or just go with what he doesn't like to just get under his skin.
No.
I
want action to happen. I want him to be weak.
Some guys respond. Maybe you get weak. Some guys get excited and
I
they
guess
feel
so.
great after that.
I guess so. Yeah. He's
Feel
a young
empowered.
guy. He's a young guy. He may. Yeah.
You're in a different demographic, Bubba.
That's right. I am. Unfortunately, I remember the days.
Yeah.
Let's go here. We'll get to I'll save that. Let's go here. Let's go to this right here since we're on football. No, that's not it. That's not it. I got the wrong thing up. Hold on. Oh, here we go. No, that's not it either. Where are you at?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the draft.
Oh.
Goodness, man. I got to double check these buttons, man.
Yeah.
Where are we at here? Oh, geez, Louise. Oh, here we go. All right. Yeah, it's not on here. That's
Okay.
why. All right, so I wanted to quickly talk about the NFL mock draft and from the standpoint of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, right? So they've been talking about Hunter being number 1 overall and then Shedeur going to the Giants, all right? Now, the only caveat is a lot of people believe that the Raiders, Tom Brady, the Raiders would trade up to get Shedeur. Let's talk about that aspect first.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the Raiders and Tom Brady should trade up to get Shedeur, or if it's a guarantee that they can wait and get Cam, that they should and not give up any additional assets? That is the question.
So yeah, do they prefer Shedeur over Cam by enough to give up something to get that opportunity?
Boom. That is the question.
I mean, you're only going to know that if you're the Raiders, like how you value him. Like, we can sit here and say, oh, I like Cam just as much. It doesn't make sense to whatever. But to me, when you go through this draft process and you interview these two guys and you size them up personally and directly, something's going to click for you. And what may click, maybe there's not enough difference between these two guys for me to do anything. And if I can get one or the other at 6, that's the best play for me. But if one of them stands out over the other, it's probably worth going and getting your guy.
Yeah, but I do think
you want Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf? I think if that's the evaluation.
Yeah.
If you meet them and do all your due diligence, and they are neck and neck, you sit, you get the guy that falls.
I think you should sit.
But what I'm saying, and I don't know the answer. If you meet those guys and interview them, work them out, whatever, and you feel that there's a big difference there that may not be obvious to me and you here in the studio, then you got to do whatever you got to do to get your guy.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to that question. I'd be just throwing spaghetti on the wall if I told you I did. But I think that that's the methodology that you're going to have to look at to get that answer.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is that, that's exactly what the Chiefs did. I mean, they got Mahomes in there in the pre-draft and the meetings and how he did in that pre-draft workout is what made Andy say, "Hey, we got to trade up to get this guy. Yeah. I don't want to take any chances. We'll do what you have to do."
But like you and I, we deal in like the men's basketball realm, and you look at guys in different settings, and you look at guys playing on certain teams, and until you have a guy on your bench playing for you, you don't really understand him. You really don't, and I think that's obviously a much higher stakes when you're going to pay these guys a lot of money and give them the keys to your franchise. You got to have that level of due diligence.
What is your your true feeling on Cam versus Shedeur? Like, just for you.
I feel it's very close to a toss-up. I really do. I feel that Cam carries himself with a certain confidence and swagger, but I think he can be a little excessive, and I think he'll have to struggle with turnovers.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, he might be closer to an unfunny Jameis than a star. And Shedeur, I generally like. I like his character. And by that, I don't necessarily mean, like waving the watches around and stuff, but I like, as bad as he's gotten beaten up in some games, he doesn't give up. He doesn't get into like finger pointing and bad body language. He keeps himself together in a very mature way. I really do love that. But I was distressed in that BYU game with some of the sacks he took. And sacks, and the bad ones for me are when you get stuck trying to make a play and you turn a 6-yard sack into a 24-yard sack by going backwards and all that stuff. That was pretty bad to me. But he does a better job than Cam of like protecting the football and not turning it over. And I definitely like that. I do like his body language and demeanor. But I think overall it's really tight.
Yeah. It is. I can't wait to see where they land. Now, as far as Travis is in a tough situation because the top couple of teams, they're really terrible. I wouldn't want to go there for anything to save my life. So yeah, the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they just have nothing, man. The Tennessee Titans have nothing. And then the Cleveland Browns, they're in a god-awful situation. Why would I want to go there? He's just screwed.
The thing about the Browns is they do have a good defense. And he could fit into that defense and probably be pretty good pretty quick. But quarterback-wise, it's unresolved and problematic. But again, the Titans have virtually nothing going on. Their current quarterback is fucking that Will Levis. He's a disaster.
They need to draft a quarterback. I wonder why on none of these mock drafts they have them drafting a quarterback. I guess because they just took Will, a year or two ago?
2 years ago. Yeah, he's not worth keeping. I mean,
no.
He's not worth saying, hey, we're good at quarterback.
I guess maybe you can go Travis and then bring in a whatever. Maybe you pry away Sam Darnold or you.
Yeah,
whatever.
You have to look at something like that, and is that enough? Is that really difference-making stuff?
No, but I guess it's a start.
Yeah.
You roll into the next season with Will Levis. You're telling me you want to go back and draft number 1 or 2 again. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, Will Levis has become such a buffoon. I don't think he has the respect of his team. No. And if he doesn't have the respect of his team there, he just needs to be done.
Yeah, no, he says I think Levis could be good. No,
I think you're mistaken.
I think you're very mistaken.
I don't know what to tell you.
He still had Hopkins over there. He couldn't even get him the ball for anything.
Yeah,
they thought Hopkins was a corpse.
Yeah.
Maybe
he just needs a Travis Hunter. Maybe he needs a brain.
Well, it looks like Travis will be going there. So yeah, we'll definitely see, man. We'll definitely see. Let's see here. Let me go. I wanted to go. Let's hit the NBA really quick. All right. Once again, you guys on the Bench podcast. Let's go to the NBA. I thought this was interesting about Kevin Durant, man. I ain't a regular 36-year-old. How many people playing at this level at my age? And taking it from a Kevin Durant point of view and others, you got, whatever, LeBron playing at 40. I think Steph is also 36.
I think Steph's about that same age.
Yeah, I think he's the same age.
36, yeah.
I mean, as we go on, whatever, Madison guys take care of themselves better, whatever the case may be, genetics. They are playing better later. But the winners are guys that are young. Is there a correlation there?
No.
What is that? So when he says I'm playing great, I'm playing better, whatever, as better as I ever have, and this is that, there's nothing wrong with me at all. Maybe there's a little delusion mixed in there with that because statistically, you can look at Kevin Durant and say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with him, whatever.
I think that there's a mental vortex with aging players. The older you get, the more experience you get, and so your understanding of the game becomes extremely acute. And what happens with that is as your physical skills diminish and your mental skills rise, you more than anything subtly become almost like a machine in doing the things that you can do, what your body allows you to do. Michael Jordan, he didn't do a million things down the back part of his career. He did a handful of things with absolutely lethal efficiency. And that's kind of the prototype of aging guys. And so Kevin Durant still does Kevin Durant things at a super elite level.
Yeah.
And so he feels, I understand the game better than 99.9% of the people in this league, maybe just LeBron, and I'm still going out every night and playing efficient basketball. So I feel like I'm great. And, I mean, all things considered, he is great. But what you lose is your energy and versatility. And you become this like absolutely fine-tuned, narrow use specialist. And sometimes winning games requires you to just do damn near anything to win. And if that, if the situation around an aging star is not optimal, where he can't just do what he does and the team wins around him, then you're not going to have the success. And when you're talking about winning, 60 regular season games and another 16 through the playoffs to be an actual champion, you're going to have to win those games so many different ways. And older specialists can't do that. They can pick spots and do it. They can turn back the clock. But there's way too many nights where KD or LeBron or any of these aging guys, Steph, does what they're supposed to do, but there's not enough around. And in their peak, they were able to not just do what they do, but fill the gaps.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that you have with these guys. And it's almost like a mental distortion syndrome that they have with that combination of kind of becoming this crazy specialist. I mean, I saw it in soccer with Messi and Ronaldo, where their ability to just run and command a game in large stretches like dissipated. They would have to position themselves in specific spots. The ball would have to come to them, and then they were absolutely lethal in those spaces. But they just couldn't go find the game when they needed to.
Right.
If people couldn't serve them with the ball in the spots that they needed it, they weren't going to chase it down and find it and just conjure something up crazy. And that's just the way sports are. That's the way the body and the mind work.
No, for sure. And one of these old guys is going to have to win to change that, in my mind.
But they won't win unless they're surrounded by the right balance of youth in the rest of the team.
And none of these guys are.
To do the stuff that you can do.
Ideally, Durant was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think we learned that Booker is not that guy, and we know Bill because of injury, because of Washington giving him, just this massive contract with a no trade clause that he did not deserve.
Yeah.
So that is the reasoning there. But Booker is surprising me over the course of the last couple of years, because I thought when whatever that was 3 or 4 years ago, he scored the 70 points and he had the finals where they're comparing him to Kobe and I thought, oh shit, this is the next guy, and he never, sort of like what we were just talking about in football, like with Jalen Hurts,
yeah, for sure,
damn near ideally the same. Like he never, after that finals where he played well, and they were comparing him to Kobe, he just never took off from there.
No, he absolutely. And that's the thing. Like a lot of these guys, they're good to a certain level, and they're not good after that. And again, like look at some of the teams that have won recently. Like the Celtics are like this beautifully balanced team, and there's a legitimate argument over who's their best player. And beyond those two best player candidates, they got like real deep weaponry.
Star role players.
When the Denver won, the Butt Nuggets, like they had a beautifully balanced roster that complemented. I mean, that's closer to being the key to victory. I mean, you even go back with, I don't know, Giannis was kind of like, felt like a singular star, but Holiday and Middleton and Lopez, it was an ensemble thing, and it was a winning combination. And you have to start looking at building winning teams with people in their same sort of like career arc.
Yeah.
Because there just really aren't. I mean, you could really argue there's who's good enough to win, like kind of alone. Nobody.
Right.
I mean, the argument was LeBron, like, when he was in Cleveland and going against the Warriors were the deeper, more balanced team, and LeBron was the best player in the world, and he couldn't overcome that. I mean, that's the guy, And I mean, Jordan didn't win without Pippen and Grant or Rodman and some combination of guys. It's unrealistic to just assemble even 2 stars and not have legitimate depth and value in that roster.
No, that's facts. That's facts. Chris says he thinks LeBron's last chip was 36. I exclude LeBron in these talks anyhow, but that may be right. He might have been around 35, 36. And then you have Champ coming back saying, I like to tip my hat when a player has a monumental season, whether they win the chip or not.
Hat tipping's your thing.
But yeah, if a guy, whatever, if a guy does some crazy stuff, Russell Westbrook with his triple-double season, I mean, we can all acknowledge when a player is really great,
I don't think anybody denies like individual greatness, but there's always that thing that when you're sitting there in the middle of June and there's 2 teams playing for a title, and if you're that guy who had a great year and you've been home for a half a week, it's just different. It just feels different.
Yeah, it feels really different.
But going to that, what was I saying? That the having a great year or winning, a guy that I've been looking at a couple times recently is Cade Cunningham.
Oh man,
he's me a really really good player.
Yeah,
and it does feel like Detroit's kind of leveled up a bit.
Yeah,
but it's like I also have
they leveled up a lot a bit. And it's really because he's playing a lot more games. He's been injured too.
Right, but like what I don't know that they're ever going to get to being a contender. Is my point.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a guy like Cade Cunningham. It's like, gosh, what if he plays his whole career, and he's never on a team that like really has anything close to a legitimate chance to win a title. Maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they're in the play-in, or maybe their best year they're a 5th seed.
Yeah.
It's when you look at a guy's career, and again, we recognize that there are factors other than the individual brilliance that allow you or facilitate you winning a title. You do start to look at young, talented players, and you're like, gosh, I hope for him that his whole career doesn't sit in this place. I hope, and I hope this for really all the great players, that you have that moment to play and compete on the biggest stage, to get to a final and roll the dice. And I know he's not anywhere near done, but Luka had that last year. He got to the final. And I had been critical of him in the past, like he didn't make the playoffs during a year in his prime and stuff like that, but he got there last year and he was in that moment. And, I think Luka's better than Cade. I'm not trying to argue otherwise, but Cade being on this Detroit team, it kind of feels like, man, I hope his whole career doesn't go where he never gets close to it.
Yeah. And the problem is, and it goes to what Champ is saying as well, the problem is, just like there are bad players and things like that, there are bad front offices as well. And right now he's playing on a bad franchise, Detroit, with a bad, at least their previous regime. I know they changed a couple of times, but front offices and things like that, and we'll see if this current regime can get some better players around them, coach and front office. But listen, you could be stuck in a bad franchise and be a good player. You can also be a player that racks up a lot of stats on a bad team, but to your point, we really don't know until you get into a winning opportunity, a winning organization, a winning team, at least for that season. Yeah. And we're able to see what you can do with that. LaMelo is another
guy.
guy.
You're on a team good enough to give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then when you get to a conference final, you get to a final, okay, where are you? What do we see? What do you show us?
Yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's what it's all about. So we'll definitely see there. What was another thing in the NBA that, man, I wanted to hit? It was on the top of my my brain there, man. I know LeBron had the triple double. They're actually 6th in the yes. That's where I wanted to go. Right now they're 6th in the West, which surprised me. And they're just a half a game back from 5th, and so forth and so forth. And LeBron and AD, it was out in the news today that, they're afraid that the team is just going to sit on their laurels and not, try to make this team better. They got rid of D-Lo. I think that's an addition by subtraction. But they're the opposite of Steph Curry. We were talking about before the show. Steph Curry's like, hey, I'm okay. You don't have to make any major changes. Yeah, don't do anything for me. And LeBron has always put pressure on his front offices, and he's kind of doing the same now along with AD. What do you think about that?
It's always been the LeBron model.
Yeah.
It's, you push for title contention and you run the franchise into the ground with no concern for the future. That's who he is. That's what he does. So it shouldn't surprise. And I guess, in a big picture way, it's probably really good that him and AD feel that way. It means they're bought into this season and they're not kind of rolling over or kind of just accepted that nothing can happen this year. So I look at that from a Laker perspective as that's a positive.
Yeah.
What exactly is that move? They did get rid of D'Lo. They brought in Dorian Finney, Smith, who's a kind of a valued role guy. Vanderbilt may be getting healthy from what I understand. So I don't know quite what that move is, but if I'm in their position, I would be aggressive as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think they should. When I say I think they should, I want to see LeBron in at least one more meaningful, playoff series with an actual chance to win.
Yeah.
It seems like they've been facing the one team that cannot beat for shit. You know what I mean? For 5 years now. I know that's overstating it, but it just feels that way. It feels like they faced against the Nuggets every single year, and
it's just a team they can't handle.
It's a team they can't handle. Anthony Davis just can't do absolutely anything with Jokic, and that's been my fucking thing about defense. He wanted to be defensive player of the year last year and the year before. It's like, listen, man, if there's a guy in the league that's your position you can't do anything with, like anything, why are you clamoring to be the defensive player of the year?
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that. Do something with yourself in the offseason to figure out this guy that you keep getting your ass whooped, and you're the main reason why, because he's out playing you at the same position. You know what I mean? That's a problem. All right, and but yeah, so we'll see, man. I just want to see them be able to compete in the playoffs and hopefully not get Denver, get a different opponent. We saw the 2 years ago when I think they got a young OKC team. They were able to beat them. Or who was that? Was it Sacramento? Remember that? It was like a young Sacramento or a young OKC team that they beat.
Golden State beat Sacramento that year when they were the 3 seed.
Okay.
In the game of 7, and then.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think the Lakers beat Golden State.
Okay.
After that, and AD was legitimately really good on defense.
Yeah.
And then the very next series, he didn't have any answers for Jokic, and they lost, I think, 4-0 in the conference final.
Okay. Yeah, that must be the year I'm
Denver's
talking
way
about.
to a title.
Right. Okay. He said LeBron and Bronny in the finals.
Activate Bronny for the finals.
Yeah. Jimmy Part 4. We talked about Jimmy a couple of times here.
Yeah.
Today news come down that Miami Heat are planning to suspend Jimmy Butler for 2 games because he missed a team flight Wednesday.
Yeah.
What's funny about that is that you got champion action about Zion. Zion missed a flight about a week or two ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. He missed the team flight, and now you got Jimmy. I've never seen as many players miss team flights. Of course, Jimmy just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. On Jimmy's part, continues to be calculated.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to be there. He's reiterated it many times, and the only way that he feels that he can get out of there is by dropping his professionalism to a level that's just absurd. And I think that's where you're at with him. He's going to go all in to get out of this situation by any possible means.
And that is his and the, book or whatever, the rule book. And he's following rule, like the James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, like they all go by this Bible of how to get away from a team. The difference is, let me finish. There you go. Bingo. It works, but you know what it works and who it works for? It works for the guy that is in his prime that every other team wants.
Oh, yeah.
The difference here is if everything was great, right? If all things being great and he's playing in every game and he's doing what he's supposed to do, teams don't know whether they really want Jimmy Butler or not because of his age related to he's on the last year of his deal and he wants a new max contract. So, and we don't know what Jimmy really looks like in a year or two because he's only playing whatever 40 or 50 games a year. That's on the face value of what teams are evaluating. Now you throw on top of that, every stop he's at, he ends up leaving. And does something similar
acrimoniously.
Yeah, something similar to this. And then it's like, okay, I have to give you a new deal, and you've done this to every other team. What makes me different? And then third and lastly, okay, you have what that goes. That's the same shit. You're doing all of this foolishness and expect me to pay you a new deal.
What he's really trying, I mean, he's desperate to get out of there. And so he's literally at this point, I think, going to the level of, I'm going to reduce my own value. I'm gonna get it so bad that the Heat are going to trade me for pennies on the dollar. And then I'm out, and then I can kind of turn on my level of play. That's his game plan. But I get, like, and again.
And that's a terrible game plan.
Well, not necessarily. If you're dead, if it's 100%, I need to get the fuck out of here, there's really no bad plan. As long as you get what you want and gets out of there. Now, he may not get the extension, necessarily automatically, but I do think if the value of what it takes to pry him out of Miami is low enough, somebody's going to take it. And there may not be a guaranteed extension, there. There may be a wink thing like, James Harden that Daryl Morey could back out of. I don't know what that's going to look like. But
the reason why I think it's a bad plan is because, number one, Miami doesn't want to take pennies on the dollar, right? And from Pat Riley's and Miami's point of view is, if you're going to relegate me to take pennies on the dollar, I might as well just keep you for another 2 to 3 months. Why should I trade you for other guys who have years left on their deal? It's not like there's a fucking 1,000 guys out there with expiring contracts. So I have to trade you for guys I don't want with 2 to 3 more years on their deal. Like, what, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Again, that's going to be the question. Does Miami toe the line or not? He's going to continue to be as shitty as possible to make this as uncomfortable as possible for them.
Like, for example, the Heat could trade Jimmy Butler for Ben Simmons straight up. It works financially. It works. But if I'm the Heat, why the fuck would I want Ben over here? I'd rather keep you, and you can miss every flight, and I'll just find you. Jimmy Butler has already given back $3.4 million to the Heat and to the NBA due to fines and all this.
To me, the most obvious. I mean, if the Heat do not like any offer that's in front of them, they just bench him and suspend him from the team for the rest of the year. I mean, if that's their position, that's what they can do. That's their option. Literally ban him from the facility, and even if you just pay him and just stay the hell away. I do think if you suspend him long enough and he loses enough money, the Players Association is going to get involved and kind of probe into the legitimacy of the suspension. I don't think you could just say, we're going to suspend Jimmy Butler for the next 30 games or however many are left in the year, and that's just okay.
Well, you know what's funny about that?
So you're not paying him.
They wanted to contest the first suspension for 7 games because it's like, oh shit, first suspension 7 games? That's not fair. That's not.
Yeah, it's not precidented. It's not. There's
but
not a
then,
precedent for that.
Again, I think Jimmy is playing this all wrong. Now you're missing team flights to games. That's not you have to not give them any reason to take your money. Like, at least. Yeah. Now you're making it easy.
But here's the other problem though, is that the trade deadline is coming closer. And he has to ramp it up somehow.
In his mind.
That's the reality.
In his mind,
that is the reality.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see. Like, if the trade deadline passes and he's not moved, okay, now let's see what the behavior is.
Gotcha.
Does he just kind of
that's a good
accept
point.
or whatever? But, like, he's on a timeline.
I
got to get crazy real fast.
Yeah. I gotta get real crazy. No, that's I guess one fucking element I didn't think about. The trade deadline is coming. It's coming. Yeah. That's funny actually. Yeah. All right. I didn't think about that. I thought about every angle. That's why I was so amped. I'm
So
like,
there's
yeah,
another
man.
angle out there, man.
I was like, I got him on this one.
You know, just a quick aside on the word angle. It's really close in spelling to the word angel. And so a couple years ago, I was on Facebook, and somebody on my timeline, their mother had passed away. And they posted, heaven gained another angle. I could not stop laughing. I mean, I was laughing like a damn fool. Because I'm like, clearly he meant to say angel, but he misspelled it, and it's a legitimate word, so the spell check doesn't catch it.
Yikes.
And I'm like, what the hell does heaven need another angle for?
You know what's funny? That's a clean transition, speaking of church and angles, to this thing that I came across on social media here.
Oh, yeah.
So, Florida, that's where we're at. We're in Florida. Florida church requires monthly payments for membership and sends collection notices if you don't pay.
It's like the gym. You get a lot less out of it.
And I don't know what this lady has anything to do with. Maybe she's a head of the collection agency for the church.
I did.
But yeah,
that's funny though. I did know somebody that they're kind of a religious person and they're into church, and they were at their church at one point appointed like treasurer. And I think
that's a big role.
I think though it's a big role, but I think it's kind of contemplated and just kind of, doing the basic accounting on the church revenue.
Yeah. The
person that I know kind of interpreted that a bit more aggressively, and they would show up to people's houses who were overdue on their debts to the church and be trying to collect in person. And it was super awkward. Eventually they were relieved of the treasurer position at the church. But that's kind of what this church is all about, man.
Yeah.
It's membership. We're going to do collections on you and stuff like that.
That's tough, man.
It's just yet another bad look for religion, really.
Some people, I remember back in the day when they, I don't want to say back in the day, but people felt some type of way when churches implemented cards, like having a way to pay via to do your tithes and offering via debit,
so you can just
credit
pay with
cards,
your debit or credit card. Okay.
And then more recently they started like allowing Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. People don't like that. That I'm not so much concerned about, because it's like whatever, we're in 2025 or whatever. They have to come up to the times of adding additional payments, because people are going cashless like more and more.
Yeah, well,
so that's not a
what
problem.
You're going to waste 2 hours at church. You're going to waste an extra 15 minutes going to the ATM.
You know what I mean?
Come on, let's keep it real.
Especially if you're a frequent churchgoer. You know what I mean? That's a lot of ATM stops.
Like, who really carries a lot of cash?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Other than a repentant stripper.
But this is going a little overboard, okay? The monthly payments and membership, and come on, man. You're doing too much.
I can't even get into the psychology of being a member of a church to begin with. But again, one of the distasteful elements, one of the many distasteful elements of organized religion is the financial component.
Yeah.
I always thought tithing was an absurdity, and it's just like, why are we attending church and it's money first? I mean, if you really what is the purpose of the church? To preach the word, give people a place to worship together, to commune with common-minded people. Why do you have to put the dollars in the front of that?
Yeah.
And I get there's some, certainly these things have an operational cost and things like that, but it's extremely distasteful to me to put, if it's religion, if it's supposed to be relationship with God or whoever, money shouldn't be the first item that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
More, some churches take advantage of that more than others. But shout out to the churches who actually do stuff in the community and things like that. That's supposed to be what that's for.
Yeah.
And then you're helping the church community, and then also helping the community that you're in, and things like that, food drives, clothes, stuff like that. But some churches just take the money in. All of a sudden your pastor has a plane now, and you're like, whatever. So, I understand that.
Well, the other slick move is like when you go to a church, you start attending a church, and then they have hey, on every Tuesday we have kind of like a financial awareness seminar, It's like all they want to do is figure out what type of money you have so that they know what they can lean on you for.
Don't let the church file your taxes.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just like, oh, yeah, like financial literacy with the church. It's like, okay, oh, this guy makes $30,000 a year. Oh, this guy makes $150. Like, what are we going to do?
Let's bring this guy into the fold.
Yeah, so I just, that stuff is just so distasteful to me.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. You're still on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. All right. Excuse me here. Yeah, man. Memphis Grizzlies are making a late push here. They're looking like a team to be reckoned with, man. Have you been watching them lately?
I've seen them a bit. I mean, Ja's still an amazing player, and he's going to be a handful to deal with in the fourth quarter of any game. And they've got, at this point, they've got kind of some seasoned pieces in Bane, and I'm not a huge Jaren Jackson guy, but he's not garbage. And they kind of do have, it's not the same as the old grit and grind mentality, but I do think they kind of have a bit of that, almost like that JUCO vibe. We're not a team that's in the media every night and this and that. It's kind of like, but we're here to compete.
Yeah.
And I like Memphis in that vibe. I thought in their, original jaw rise, they got a little full of themselves and were, too much poking the bear, not enough, finishing. But I think, like, low-key, I think they're a dangerous team. I think that they're pretty good, and I think they've got a great sort of competitive spirit night in and night out.
Yeah. I think they're going to make a decent run this year. I like what Jaren Jackson said after the last game. I thought it was a small shot at OKC. Talking about, and after our wins, we're not all as a team in front of the cameras and having fun. We're kind of, we're adults now and we're veterans. So
going Suge Knight on him.
He went Suge Knight on the OKC,
dancing
man.
In your video, fucking your favorite dude.
I was like, Shay's gonna have something to say about that, or, on the court, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, though, I do like their team. And then also, Another KD thing, he actually recently in an interview reflected on his time with the Nets, and he actually called it dysfunction. He was like, even though they went through a lot of dysfunction, for lack of a better term, he says a lot of people still supported them in those stands. That's what stood out the most to him. But he was like, injuries, COVID, us not getting on the court, I think those are two biggest factors. That's still one of the biggest disappointments in the history of sports, I think. It's up there.
It felt like every bit like the super team.
Yeah.
Like when they first assembled those guys, you're just like
and still in their prime. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
the three
the
guys
thing.
still in their prime. I mean, James and Harden James and KD had already played together. I know it was a while back.
Yeah.
There was the alleged friendship with Kyrie and KD. It felt like, hey, maybe they could work this out. And
right.
They literally never got healthy to play together.
No.
And that was one of those what if scenarios.
One of the ultimate what ifs, man. No, that's for sure.
I mean, when they first got those three guys together, you definitely felt like the power of the league had shifted.
Yeah.
Like that there's no way these guys are not in the mix.
No, that's it. Did you hear about the proposed child support law?
Yeah.
Is that fake or real or what? I don't.
Probably fake. I don't know how you get that passed.
It was saying basically that the person who's paying the child support would be able to claim the child. Like that is the person who's going to claim the child.
It was almost in the negative. If you're receiving child support, you're precluded from claiming the child on your taxes.
Yeah.
Which I guess theoretically, if you come at it from a tax law perspective, it could be enacted at the federal level.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a possibility.
Mm.
I don't know if people will pass that.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, I'm not a huge proponent of the system the way that it is. I do think it favors women, probably too much more than it should. But I also it's one of those decisions typical of the mentality of the people currently there that it's essentially like short-sighted, and it'll probably cause a lot of sort of dramatic harm initially in the implementation that they don't seem to give two shits about.
Yeah.
That suddenly that changes, and now the finances of a lot of people who are and again, the only people that matters to are like probably like single moms who are not making a ton of money. If you're some woman who has a child with a wealthy person and you're getting 10, 12K a month in child support, like it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Facts.
But
Facts.
when you're the women that need it are going to be harmed by the implementation of this rule.
And then lastly here, the last thing I wanted to talk about was oh my goodness, I am getting old.
That's not good.
I just had it. That was so crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
I literally just had it, and then I went to read that comment, and then I lost it. What did that comment say anyway? What is it? Nobody's trading, trying to get
I
Ben
think
Simmons.
Simmons could be part of a deal. Nobody trading, trying to get Ben Simmons, but kind of as like an after parter to make the money work.
I got it. Dave Chappelle, SNL. Did you see that? His monologue?
No.
It's really good. It's like really good, man. He's become, the funny thing about Dave Chappelle is before he left to go on his whatever African sabbatical, whatever, and he got into it with Comedy Central and things like that. His stand-up comedy was not that good. I mean, it's just he was not that good of a stand-up comedian. I mean, you could just whatever you want to say. His best joke was the baby on the corner selling crack, and that's like it was barely passable for a large like a comedian of his stature. And then in some kind of way, all of a sudden he went to Africa and he came back and he became this like genius level comedian, stand-up comedian. He was always whatever acting and on the show, whatever. He's top 5, but I'm just talking about purely from a stand-up comedian standpoint. And he completely changed his style. He doesn't tell the baby on the corner selling crack jokes now. Like his jokes are well more developed and thought out. And it's just it goes to my overlasting thing of people do improve and get better. Number 2, I wonder what the hell happened. And 3, this SNL monologue goes into that just more of his new stuff, and it was really great, man. I'm not a big stand-up guy. I don't watch a lot of it, but I don't really regard Dave Chappelle as a stand-up comic right now.
I didn't. Other than an occasional skit, I didn't follow him
Okay.
in a
Even
big
back
way.
then is what you're saying.
No, but I'm saying like since I don't know, the last 5 years.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about.
He is to me a comedic social commentator.
Yeah.
It's not stand-up comedy. It's not just random jokes and saying wild stuff. He sets things up. He mixes in jokes to soften deeper political points.
Yeah.
Or deeper
That's
social
what he is now.
injustice points. And again, because if you listen to him, for 5, 10, 20 minutes of material, you're going to laugh. But I don't know that I've ever actually laughed that hard at him. My impressions of the stuff that he talks about is like there's always going to be a moment where I'm just like, damn. And it's because he'll say something. I remember him talking about being pulled over by a cop in Ohio. And then he winds the story down that was the cop that just a little short time later either shot or pulled a weapon on a young black man in Walmart. And he draws the distinction that, like, this dude saw me. Once he recognized I was Dave Chappelle, he's, oh, man, it's cool to see you, blah, blah, blah. No ticket, buddy. Have a great night. And then that same dude, is shooting somebody in Walmart within 30 days.
Yeah.
And, all that. And then even like, he even commented, I think it was like, he was telling a story about, I think it was, there was some shootings of some police folks in Dallas, and how the way he told that story, like it was in the news cycle, and then Kobe dropped 60 in his final game, and the news cycle shifted. And it's always like, damn, like that's his strength now. I don't know him in the era that you were talking about, but that's what he does, And why I didn't watch or care about any of the monologues, because I think from what I understand, he made him a bit of plea to Trump. And I was just like, that's just wasted breath.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's not what you think. Yeah. His whole main thing was.
Well, I know that's not the main thing.
No. Let me, because his whole main thing, he said it from the very beginning. Like he didn't want to. They told him about this, to do this, like whatever, months and months ago, like towards the summer of last year, and he wanted to do it because he knew it was they wanted this person to come on at this time because of the Trump inauguration. It was like, okay, and whatever surrounding this time, and he didn't want to do it because he felt like it would be like, oh no, I'm not supporting that guy. I don't want anything. I want to detach myself totally from everything. And a part of his jokes and what he was saying was, I turned it down like 5 times, and he was like, and the 6th time he was like, I just came to a revelation like, I guess I'll just get the rest of my Trump jokes out here. And he was like, that's why I ended up accepting, because I had an empty clip of Trump jokes I just needed to get out.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when you say a plea to Trump, I'll go ahead, whatever, because it's just the end. I skipped the beginning and the middle.
Yeah.
But so I'm not telling the whole thing. But in the end, I guess what they're saying the plea is, he says, my feelings of Trump aside, whether you like him, whether you hate him, like we're all dependent on you now. You know what I mean? What for better or for worse. So Trump, keep that in mind. And that's exactly what he said, word for word.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's early in the year, but so far the best thing I've seen. We'll see if somebody can
What
tell.
was it on? Was Saturday Night Live or something? Or?
I caught it on YouTube, but it's an SNL monologue. So yeah, Saturday Night Live, because he also did a skit like a la old school Chappelle show. So he was that monologue, and he also did a skit. The skit, I could tell, he hasn't done it in a while. It was okay. He tried to do the 20v1, so he kind of brought it into today's world.
Okay.
The 20v1, and it was like he's going down with each girl, and they have the balloons and stuff.
Yeah.
But they could have made it a lot funnier.
Right.
They probably freestyled that. Yeah.
Didn't put a lot of time into it.
No. Him and Ashley Larry was out there. But all right, that is the show. Catch you guys next week, hopefully. With the Chiefs Super Bowl